Welcome to the Detailed Athlete. This is your host, Daniel Carr. We back with another episode of the Detailed Athlete. Today we got a special guest in the building. He is Kherik Gordon. What's going on?
What's going on?
Nothing,
Appreciate
man.
you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming out. So to jump into the episode, we're going to get into a little bit of background information about you. Just kind of tell the people a little bit about your childhood lifestyle, where you're from, and what it was like growing up in that community.
Okay. Well, I'm from Augusta, Georgia. It's, small town. Nothing major happens about it.
Right.
Right before I got in high school, my mom married a guy in Charleston, South Carolina. I moved to a small town called Hanahan. It was very small.
Right.
Got there and, I excelled in football and, I did my thing. Got a few scholarship offers. Chose to go to Charleston Southern. Got at Charleston Southern. And the freedom of college life, I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
I got there and I started partying. I started doing everything that I wasn't supposed to do, that I, couldn't do at home.
Right.
And next thing I know, I was in the military.
Yeah. So when you did high school in Hanahan, was it just football that you played, or did you play?
Yeah, I just played football.
Okay.
My freshman year, I dislocated my shoulder, and I used every off season after that trying to rehab it, trying to make sure that I was ready for football season next year.
Right.
I dabbled in some track once or twice, basketball here and there. I would love to play the pickup games, but just not I was never the competitive guy at basketball. I was always good. I was always a good person to have on the team, but I just wasn't competitive enough to be for the school team. You know what I mean? Like, I play pickup basketball with the guys all day long, but I don't understand why they're so emotional about losing by a point. It didn't,
Right.
I'm just happy to be out here. That's where I was with it.
Right. So in your childhood, what were your childhood dreams as far as sports, like football?
I had one dream. I was going to make it to the NFL.
Right.
There was no ifs, ands, and buts about it. When I was in high school and I talked to the guidance counselor, and they would, the aptitude test, you'd be good at this or you'd be good at that. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to the NFL.
Right.
I cared about nothing you're talking about, because there was nothing that would make me think I wasn't going to the NFL.
Yeah.
And then I got to college, and I was pretty competitive as a true freshman at Charleston Southern. But again, for that brief moment, I lost my love for football. It didn't feel the same. I didn't have the same drive about it. I didn't want to do it.
Right. And what was it though? Like what was it that made you lose your love for it?
I think it was more of the lifestyle change. I've always been a person that's not big on change. I don't really like change. So I think to go from being, this high school stud, like everybody in the school knew me, and I was, I had the name, and I was on the news, I was in the paper, and, I was getting recruited from different schools, to get to college, and I've got a coach that doesn't even know my name. My position coach never knew my name.
Yeah.
Hey, Fresh, come here. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, is this really what I should be doing with my life?
Yeah.
And, at the same time I started, partying to where, I had an 8 o'clock class. I'm walking in the dorm room at 7 o'clock. It's not going to go well. This is not going to turn out well for me. So.
Right. Did you ever think about the parallels of when you walked into Hanahan as a freshman, and maybe not necessarily people knowing your name?
See, but and again, that's where why it was new to me.
Yeah.
When I left Augusta, Georgia, and went to Hanahan in 8th grade, I knew no one. I was the new kid. I was quiet. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I was just standing there on the wall one day, and this big guy walked up to me and was like, "Hey, you're going to play football for me." And I was like, well, I've already looked into it. All they have is recreation, and they've got a weight limit, and I'm not, I'm over the weight limit. He was like, no, I coach at the high school. You're going to play JV. I was like, well, I'm not at high school. Can I do that? And he was like, yes.
Yeah.
Meet me at here and here. You know, come to this building with the Hawk on it. And I went that afternoon, and you know, he introduced me to the head coach, and the head coach walked me down to the field, and we were talking, and you know, he asked me what position did I play, and I was like, well, I'm a running back. So we were just talking and walking, and he had a football team. He just suddenly just flipped the ball, and without even saying anything, I caught it. He was like, you are. And so, you know, the rest became history. Like, he became one of my best teachers, best friends, everything. He would guide me in everything I did after that point. And, you know, so as an 8th grader, I was the starting tailback on JV. So when I hit freshman, I was the starting tailback on varsity. As a true freshman, I'm a 4-year letterman in football. You know, we didn't win a lot of games, but I can say that I made enough of a name for myself that I was getting recruited and I was getting looks.
Right, and you had an opportunity to have your school paid for. So you said in earlier in one of your statements that when you left college, you found yourself in the military.
Yes.
What was it that switched in your mind? Like, okay, school not working out, I gotta go to the military, or did somebody make you do that?
No, I was already in school. We had the option to do PE or JRTC.
Okay.
And I said, man, I don't want to do PE.
Why?
I do JRTC, and I can just, you know, do what I want. Like, it's not, I don't have to, you know. I think I'm the laziest successful athlete ever. Like, I don't want to work. I was the guy that always showed up and was just better than everybody else just off showing up.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell you a season I had where I was in shape, but yet I always dominated.
Yeah.
Like, when the lights come on, I shine brighter than everybody else.
Right.
And that's how it always was. So PE or JRTC? I chose JRTC. So I had 2 years of JRTC, and a National Guard recruiter came.
Okay.
And they talked to me, and you know, 1 week in a month, and blah, 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 you can get paid. And I was like, oh, there's money? I got to work 1 week in a month? That's great, cool.
Right.
So I was already, I went to basic training in between my junior and senior year.
Okay.
Then I went to AIT, which is the school, Advanced Individual Training, after my senior year. So I came into college freshman, I was completely trained by the military.
Right.
So when I got there and I realized that, man, this college life might not be for me.
Yeah.
I had a life choice, like, go work this, you know, simple BS job, or let's go in the Army. I'll go in the Army.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you did 24 years in the military.
Yes.
You did 24 years of service. Number one, I want to take a pause and say thank you for your service, for helping protect our rights here. What do you have to say to the young 16, 17, 18-year-old who has no options, for lack of a better term, but has no options, but the military might be for them, but they don't want to because they feel that I can't fight for a country that don't necessarily love me? What would you say to that kid?
See, that's a hard thing to say, because it's a feeling of the feeling that your country doesn't love you or doesn't support you the way you think it should. It's very hard to get you to go out and defend that country.
Right.
But at the same time, I always looked at it as, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my mom. I'm doing it for my sister. I'm doing it for, at the time, my daughter. Now, you know, I have 2 sons. I'm doing it for them. This is
right.
My why became bigger than me.
Yeah.
When it came to the military, you know, when they came to me and said, "Hey, we need you to go." Well, let's back up. I got out of the military.
Okay.
In 99, 2000. 9/11 happened, and I signed back up because I felt like I needed to do something.
Right.
I felt like, you know, I need to help defend this country. And like you said, it's not that it's the country, it's the people that I care about that I wanted to protect.
Yeah.
And so that's where it always became for me. It was always, I gotta look after those people that I care, that I don't want to have to pick up a gun to defend themselves.
Right.
I want to do it.
Right. I think that's that's actually a very powerful statement in itself, and in what you said, and not necessarily fighting for the country, but we're fighting for the people that mean the most to us individually.
Yes.
I've always kind of said that I was never necessarily the military guy for a different reason. Coming out of high school, I had an offer to go to West Point. Just then it was, obviously it don't matter now, but then it was, I didn't want to cut my hair. I mean, obviously it don't matter now, I got a bald head, but that was my reason. But now when I talk to the young guys in that adolescent stage, and when they get ready to turn like 16, 17, 18, like obviously we see what's going on in the country, especially when we talk about the minority group of boys and teenagers. And,
you know, it's, the military is always going to be like anything you do. It's going to be what you make out of it.
Yeah.
So I can tell you one of the worst decisions of my life when I was weighing my colleges, I had an offer for a full ride from the Citadel.
Okay.
Turned it down. Now, I was already in the military. Now, hear me. I was already in the military. Yeah. And I turned down a full ride at the Citadel because I didn't want to be locked down the way I was going to be locked down my freshman year. Wow. Hindsight, that was probably what I needed, and that was probably why everything was such a shock to my system, because I needed the structure and the discipline and the, you know, I needed all that, but I turned it down. And I turned it down, and then less than a year later, I'm in the military full time. It's just retarded. A friend of mine, my high school quarterback, he went to the Citadel, came out and went in the Air Force. I think he's some kind of high-ranking engineer now. Yeah. He was a second lieutenant. He's got a long career. And I look at the parallels and I'm like, yep, I dropped the ball there. Yeah, you know?
Yeah. And that was what was being sold to me. When you get out, you're going to be an officer or whatever. Like you start ahead of the game.
Curve. Yeah.
I mean, you're there. I would have been playing football.
You figure, and then you got to think about the second. Like I said, hindsight is 20/20. You think about, I was in the Charleston area. That's where I was. Yeah. A degree from the Citadel in the Charleston area, you write your own ticket. Yeah. Anywhere you want, you write your own ticket.
For sure.
But this at 17, 18, I didn't know. I didn't care. Right. You know, for lack of a better term, I was young, dumb, and full of cum. I wanted to party. I wanted to do all the things that I wouldn't be able to do. That's what motivated me and what drove me. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities because of that.
Yeah. So was you the first to go to the military in your family?
No.
So who influenced you to go?
I've got uncles that were in the military. I think I got 3 uncles that were in the military. So, you know, it was easy because it was ordained. When I've got pictures when I was 1 and 2, and they bought me Army uniforms with me, and so it was like it was ordained for me to, you know, be in the military.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, you know, how you were saying, like looking back in hindsight, some things almost be written for you. You know what I mean? Like you said, you like 1 and 2 already in Army fatigue. You know you need structure, things like that. And college ain't. That's when you out there by yourself. You don't really have a lot of structure. Like you're on your own time. But the Army is a very viable option for people who need structure. And I think making the option of going to the military cool is something that we need. I would much rather somebody go to the military than to be out here in the street shooting people up. You know what I mean?
You know, and it's not even that it's cool. It is actually not a bad job. Like you know, for what you do, the pay isn't great, but the pay is better than average. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you work in a retail store for 5 or 6 years, you're not going to have what you make in, you know, I think, let's go back. I got out in 2020. As an E5 in 2020, I think it's like almost $4,000 a month. You know, and that's just, and E5 is way down. Like there's so many ranks higher than that. Yeah. So little effort, you can make E5 and you can be comfortable. Right. You know what I mean? And Monday through Friday mostly. Like it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
And it's not, a lot of people get bent up on what you were saying earlier. I can't defend the country that doesn't defend me or that doesn't love me. But really and truly, you go to work at these jobs and they don't love you either.
That's actually true. That's very true. Now that you put it in that perspective, that is.
I always see the little Facebook meme. You can go to work every day and work yourself to death, and when you die, they'll have your job posted the next day. and it's the truth.
Yeah, real talk.
And I understand that companies got to make money, but you got to understand that companies got to make money. Like
right.
Nobody's irreplaceable. Like they're going to replace you if you keel over dead in their building. They're going to replace you.
Yeah, for
They'll
sure.
be sad, but they're going to replace you.
For sure. So you then you did 24 years. You said you was done in 2020. Let's talk about something else that you was able to do. You ended up getting a couple of degrees. You mentioned that in 2018 you got criminal justice degree in criminal justice.
I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Investigations in Computer Forensics.
So what made you get into that?
I'm nosy. I mean, simple and plain, like I've always been the person to needed to know the why. Like, my goal was to be an investigator.
Okay.
And I didn't, and I tell everybody, I had no desire to write a ticket. I had no desire to actually physically arrest anybody. I had no desire to do any of that. Right. I wanted to find out the why. Why did this person do what they do? Why did they go over there? Why did they drive their car when they were that intoxicated? I want to know the why. So I wanted to be an investigator. Like my end game was being a detective.
Okay.
Got the degree. Was like, I got a degree. I've got military experience. Every sheriff's office is going to beat down my door.
Yeah.
And I started talking to people and trying to send out my resume. They was like, well, you got to go be a jailer first. Huh?
A jailer?
Yeah. Like, no, I don't want to work in a jail.
Right.
I want to be a detective. I have a degree. I have this military certification. I've done this. I want to be a detective. Yeah. Got to be a jailer. Got to be a jailer for so many months or so long. Then you got to be a road officer for so long. Then you can apply to be a detective.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, well, didn't think that through.
Right. Paying your dues, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess, but you done did all the.
I've paid my dues in my mind.
Right, but you did all the work to get the degree, so I mean, I feel you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then but in 2020, you decide to get business administration.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that because you not necessarily couldn't be the detective, but
no,
couldn't jump right into it?
It was. I had some VA money left. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
I had some, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And the school I went to, they had a program where you can get your MBA in 10 classes.
Yeah.
And I counted up how much time I had left. I said, well, what am I gonna get an MBA in? Let's see, business administration. With it ties in because it's business administration and computer marketing. But it ties into the computer forensics that I work on, that I have my criminal justice with.
Right.
And so I did that, and now I'm set up to do a lot of business stuff. I learned a lot of business law, a lot of business ethics. So it makes me a better. As a whole, for the arena team that I coach, I've done a lot of the business front office stuff.
Yeah.
And it's because I know the business law, and I know I know how to write a contract. I know how to read a contract. I know how to, I know what's a bad contract, what's a good contract. I can read all that. I know how to put a loophole in the contract. I've learned all that. So, I did it to be a more well-rounded individual.
Yeah, and I think because I ended up getting a degree in sports management, which is so broad, and I kind of wish I would have did a minor in something businessy like, but in that degree of sports management, I kind of learned a little bit of the same things, but it's so broad. I learned a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then you just kind of tie it all together. And which brings me to the next thing. When did you start hopping into coaching?
In 2005, I was playing semi-pro football. Mm-hmm. I had found the love had came back.
Here in Augusta?
Yes, I was playing here in Augusta.
Okay.
And the love had came back. I was doing quite well. and I was given a choice, family or football. And I chose family.
Right.
So I stopped playing. A year later, my son was born. So when I deployed in 2011, he started playing soccer at like 4 or 5, and he was really good at soccer. He was just naturally gifted athletically.
Yeah.
Like I came home on leave and went to a soccer game, and like he scored 8 goals. Like he was the kid that was stealing the ball from his teammates and driving down and scoring goals. And I was like, man, this kid's pretty good. So when I got back, he was old enough to start playing flag football. And so I'm just a dad. I just want to be out here and watch the son play. So, the coach that was coaching him, he needed some help. So I started helping.
Okay.
And then it just ballooned from there. Next thing you know, I'm the defensive coordinator when we moved into tackle. Then I went and I had a year where I was the head coach at a tackle team. And then I met some guys and they started a new travel league, which is, it's the big thing for youth football.
Yeah.
So I had a guy, and again, I just want to take my son over. So I was like, hey, I'm going to bring him over. He was like, yeah, I need somebody to coach my defense. Well, okay, well, here we go. We went that first year, we made it to 3rd in the nation at the AYF.
Okay.
Then we came back and we won some more state champs. We won some games, lost some games,
Yeah.
And so that is pretty much taking my son to football is what got me into coaching. Like I coached basketball because he played basketball when he was younger too. So I never made him play sports. So I would always ask him, hey, do you want to play? Such sign up is here. Do you want to play? He would say yes. We go, and I always end up helping coach.
Right. That sounds very
That's
familiar.
how the coaching bug hit me.
Yeah, that sounds familiar because my pop's the same way. It's 4 of us, and he literally was on the coaching staff for all 4 of us.
Exactly.
He always said up until middle school, he'll coach up until we get to middle school. And get to middle school, if we can't make the team, that's on us.
That's on, and it's the same scenario. My son, in 2019, we went down to the Nationals once again, and we inches away from the national championship. And, it was a little bittersweet because those kids that I had on that team, I had for like 4 years. So we've bonded. Yeah. So I had to leave. And this was when I was doing my retirement stuff for the military. So I had to leave. We lost in the semifinal game and we still had another game. Right. So I had to leave them there and go drive all the way back to Augusta to get on the plane to go to San Antonio for a retirement hearing. And I was good. We lost the game. Hey, we lost 13-12 in overtime to the team that ended up winning the national title by a lot. So I'm good on the drive back. And then the next morning, I drove back from Orlando, I think 10 hours or whatever it is. Yeah. Got up the next morning, got on the plane like 7 o'clock, and I'm sitting waiting for the plane to take off. And then it just hit me that group of boys that I had that I've been with for 4 or 5 years, and I've developed and I've taught and I've seen them get hurt, I've seen them have triumphs, I've experienced it all with them. Yeah. That this is it. There's no more. Yeah. And they're finna play their last game, and I won't get to see it. And man, when I tell you I broke down on the plane, I broke down on the plane bad. Right. And I'm not the social media guy. Like I don't put feelings and stuff out, but I put a nice long post on social media, and and it's funny, the guy I coach with, because he was still down there and he read it, he was like, yeah, Gordon up there crying. Yeah, he got it. You can tell by the way that the words and the emotion that was in the post that I was having an episode. Yeah. And then now my son is playing varsity football and I'm just sitting in the stands. Right. Like I'm just sitting in the stands and I'm looking like he should do this, he should do that. Right. It's so bad that, there was a time my son plays defensive end and this is his first year playing varsity football. Right. So he hadn't been on the weight program. He hadn't done any of that. So he's playing defensive end against an all-state tackle. Wow. Like I'm really in my mind like, oh, poor baby. You're right. So my cousin is on the sideline as their chain guy, water boy, whatever he's doing on the sideline. So he called me and I'm like, what are you calling me for? He was like, hey, Christian wants to know what he needs to do. And I'm like, you've got the whole coaching staff down there. Then I thought about it. Okay, but tell him to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to step and blah, blah, blah. I'm just giving him pointers that's going to lessen some of the the burden he has, because like I said, the guy's All-State.
Right.
You know, he's a senior All-State left tackle.
Yeah, that's tough.
300 pounds. Christian's 200 pounds. Like it's the situation when he gets his hands on you, it's over with.
Right.
So I gotta give you some pointers to keep him from getting his hands on you.
Yeah.
You know.
And I can speak from experience. Sometimes it's just natural when you so used to hearing
A voice that you gotta have that
familiar
voice.
with. Yeah, and I don't think, and I don't want to speak for him, but I know in my situation, it was never necessarily oh, that's dad. I'm trying to get advice from my dad. It's no, let me get advice from my coach
That I know,
that
and
I
that
know.
I trust.
Yeah,
And that,
right.
I understand.
So I feel him. You know, he's going against All-State, and his work cut out for him, and nothing seemed to work. And you know, like sometimes you just gotta ask somebody that you know. Yeah, and
I agree.
So to tie into that though, because you do a lot of youth sports now, is
Yes.
that? And we'll get into the arena thing a little later, but is youth sports, is that what you think your lane is? Like, what is it about the youth that make you say, okay, I want to do youth sports, youth football in general?
I feel like my lane is actually a little bit higher. I feel like a lot of athletes in this area are going unseen because of what they're being taught and what they're not being taught.
Right.
I feel like, you know, we can do a lot better to get these guys better prepared to be recruited, to be better prepared to just be young men in general.
Right.
So my goal, and that's why I work with the youth, I want to be able to have a guy that's ready when he steps foot on a high school campus.
Okay.
So I want to take these years that I got with him, I want to train him, I want to teach him how to, as if he's a linebacker, I want to teach him how to read the offense. I want to teach him where hole he needs to hit and when he needs to hit it and how he needs to hit it. I want to teach him how to make an adjustment on the defense and call a defense in a tempo situation.
Right.
Like I want to prepare him for what he's going to see later in life.
Yeah.
As far as football, and then again, I want to prepare him for what he's going to see later in life in general, also.
Yeah. Because we all know sports teach life lessons.
Exactly.
And football is a game that really teaches it.
Yes.
Especially being a man, you get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down all the time in football. You know what I mean? And whether you get back up and keep
And
fighting.
sometimes you don't want to get back up, but
Exactly.
you know that's what you have to do. Yes.
Exactly, and I think that's a dope lane that you're in with the youth, because the youth is where it starts. And the quicker you can reach the youth, the quicker you can mold their minds, the quicker you can mold their mentality, the better that they are.
Yes.
Like you said, when they step onto a high school campus and getting ready to play high school football for the first time, they usually go back to their training of what they learned as a youth. It always seems to rise to the top. Which goes into, you got Bulldog University. Talk a little bit about Bulldog University and what that is.
You know, a few years ago when there was an organization, it was called CRTGB, and you know, over time it just started to phase out, and then last season we merged with another organization called Augusta Bulldogs and became Dogs United.
Okay.
And they were very successful.
Okay.
As an organization, we won a national championship, finished second, and finished third.
Okay.
So, you know, the buzz is there, the hype is there, we're ready to go.
Right.
You know, then politics began to happen. There were things that people didn't like about whatever they didn't like.
Yeah.
You know, I can't speak on anybody's experience. I can't tell you this person should do that or that person should do this. All I can do is speak on my experience.
Right.
So, long story short, Dogs United dissolved, and it left a void. It left me with nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know, there was an option to take these kids that we got and merge with another organization, but this is an established organization. So when you do that merger, what's going to happen? You're going to get a bunch of kids that are good, that are not going to get the playing time and the playing experience that they need.
Right.
So myself and a guy named Kherik and Lee Ivy, we said, hey, it's time. Let's just go ahead and start our own.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where Bulldog University came from. And now we're heavy in the recruitment phase. We started training. I even another thing I see that's lacking in the area is passing concepts.
Yeah.
So that's what made me start doing 707 this year.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell everybody, I don't do 707 to win games. I don't care about winning games in 707. I want my quarterback to understand his reads. I want my wide receivers to understand the importance of proper routes. I want my secondary to understand coverage assignments.
Yeah.
And because going forward, when you get to high school, these are things that a high school coach doesn't have time to teach you. You should already know when you get there. They're going to put their defense in. If you don't know it, they're going to pull you out. So I want them to know it before they get there.
Absolutely.
Because I know as you move forward, let's say you get to a school and that coach doesn't have time to teach it. So you get to a college and they tell you to run a cover 3 and you're looking at them crazy. Guess what they're going to do? Scholarship pulled.
It's gone.
You know what I mean? And that's why I do what I do, because I don't want a kid, especially that's come through anything I've touched, to not know.
Right.
You know, I want to prepare them for anything. You know, it's great. It's fun to win, of course.
Of course.
But I don't do it for the wins.
Yeah.
I quit doing it for the wins years ago.
Right.
You know, I'm all about teaching. I'm all about, you know, coming up with a system that's a pretty good system.
Yeah.
You know, we can put this in and I can tweak it here, I can tweak it there, you know. So now when you get somewhere else and the coach say, hey, you know, if I run such and such, what's your assignment? And you can tell him, and now he's looking at you like, oh, somebody's taught you something somewhere.
Right.
You know, and then now as a high school coach, his job is easier.
Yeah. What age groups do you have? Put all that out there, and I'll be sure to make sure I put a link.
It's 5 through 12.
5 through 12.
And with an age cutoff date of July 31st. So whatever age you are on July 31st is where you have to go. So if you turn 13 on July 31st, you're too old.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be sure to put out the information in the link description for kids who are looking for somewhere to play, looking for somewhere to learn. Looking for somewhere to build some training and become something with the football thing. I'll be sure to push them your way.
Thank you.
And I think when you said teaching, not caring about the wins, in the youth sports, I think that's where it gets corrupt.
That is exactly where it gets off. You know, and I know people are going to hear it and say, "Oh, he cares about winning." Yeah, I care about winning.
Of course.
Yes, of course. Everybody. I mean, why do what I do if I don't? But that's not why I do it.
Exactly.
I know that's not my why. My why is to teach and train and to develop. That's my why.
Exactly.
You know, I want to take a kid that may be a bubble kid, that, you know, he's got good size, but he's not very athletic. And I want to teach him how to play a position to where, oh my God, he's now a 3-star recruit. Right. Where before he was a kid that was going to have to walk on at a JUCO. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying. I want to teach and train. I want you to know so much about football that's what's going to up your recruiting story.
Right.
You know, when you can go on the whiteboard and draw out the defense or draw out plays and come up with concepts and tell the coach where you should be and when you should be and the steps you should take, that's what's going to be beneficial to you.
Right. Because what kids need to know is that once you have understanding and you understanding why you're doing things, you're understanding why I'm supposed to be here, then all the athletic training will then fall into place, because now you kind of know what you're doing. Makes sense.
Exactly.
So and I think that's super dope, and I think that's something that needs to be highlighted. That, like you said, yeah, everybody cares about winning, because I mean, that's what we play for. We don't play just to go out there and have fun. We want to win at the end of the day, because winning is fun. At the end of the day, too, teaching, understanding in youth sports is probably is number one.
Of course, it has to be.
And the people who just do it just for the wins, that say, oh, I got youth trophies, this, that, and the third, they're corrupting the game itself. And I'll always be a believer that, like, I've never necessarily fooled with adults that just want to win and do anything, will mess up a child just for the sacrifice of winning, and that, because that's not what it's about.
It's not.
And so that's dope, man. And I applaud you for Bulldog University, and I hope it continues to go. I hope it continues to do well.
Appreciate it.
And I hope that you get all the kids to the next level that come in contact with you. Now, with all that being said, you were also an arena football coach.
Yes.
You're my arena football coach, my offensive coordinator.
Yes.
And that's probably some information that a lot of people don't know, that I play arena football now, but we'll talk about that a little later. But arena football, how did that start for you?
When I was playing semi-pro, the last team I played for, I met Avery Broadwater and Mario McGahee. We were on the Palmetto Dragons.
Okay.
It was a semi-pro team. It's pretty good. It was pretty stacked for the time. It was a pretty stacked team. Like, we had some legit studs across the board. You know, we won some games, some lost some games. You know, we had a little deep playoff run. And you know, fast forward, I didn't see him anymore because that was when I was retired. So I, you know, to make it a true retirement, I totally removed myself from the sport. I wasn't around. I didn't go to the games. I didn't go to. I think I went to one practice after I hung up my cleats.
Right.
And the one practice I was there, the OC was like, "See, I was just telling me the other day that in this office," and I was like, "Nope, you're not. It's not going to work. You're not going to lure me back. When I said I'm done, I'm done." So fast forward, you know, I've gotten into the youth coaching and blah blah, and I was in a college class, and there was a guy in front of me, and I was like, "You look real familiar to me."
Yeah.
And we were just talking, and he was like, "We used to play football together."
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and it was Mario McGahee, and I was like, "Yeah, that's right. Hey, yeah, blah." And, you know, well, I'm coaching this and blah blah. He said, "Oh, well, I'm still coaching here. That's okay. We're gonna get together."
Yeah.
Never could, you know, get the timing down. I ran into Avery Broadwater in the store several times. "Oh, you coaching? Yeah. Well, I got a team." I was like, "All right, well, you know," never could get it together.
Yeah.
So 2019, I was still in the National Guard, and one of my soldiers who played semi-pro, he came up to me. You know, we always talked football. He was like, "Hey, Sarge, I got recruited by an arena football team." I said, "Really? Arena football team where?" He was like, "They're here." And I was like, "There's no arena football here."
Yeah.
So he was like, "I got the card." So he went to his car and came back with the card, and it was Mario McGahee. And I was like, "Huh,
Small world.
I ain't doing nothing." So I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, you remember all those times we talked about us coaching together? You know, how's your arena staff?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "You know, come on out." So the next practice, I went in, and I walk in, and I saw him sitting there, and I saw Avery Broadwater, and he was like, "This the coach you were talking about?" He was like, "Yeah, you remember?" He was like, "I see him all the time. We supposed to work together forever."
Yeah.
And so, you know, we chopped it up. I came on the first year as a consultant because I didn't know arena football.
Right.
I didn't. So I know football, but I didn't know arena football.
It's
so
different.
That
For
first
y'all
year, I
listening,
just sat on the sideline and I watched. The last two games, I just watched what was going on.
Yeah.
And I made a plan in my mind, like, okay, well, you know, we need to do this. We need to work on this. And right before the last game, they was like, "Hey, you know, we had another guy in line for the head coach, but it's your job."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, well, it's my job. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna condition better than anybody else." Because that's that first year, what I saw, they would be ahead in the first half and not be able to move the ball in the second half because they're dead.
Too tired. Yep.
So I said conditioning will be first and foremost, and that my year one of my coaching regime, that's all I focused on. We're going to condition. We're going to be better conditioned than everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, and it definitely makes a difference, and that's still something that I focus on now. Like the X's and O's are good, getting into playbooks are good, the contact is good, the competition is good.
Yeah.
But if we're not in shape, we will not be competitive.
Oh, for sure. For sure, and I'll definitely speak on that. That arena football, for y'all listening, is definitely different. It's something worth seeing too. So if you ever get a chance, come out and see the Georgia Lions play arena football. But it's something totally different when you're a player. It's so much faster,
Smaller and more
way
compact.
smaller. You literally take a whole football field and you cut it in half in every dimension. So and it's definitely a little different. So you've been a defensive coordinator. You was defensive coordinator last year for the Lions. Now you're the offensive coordinator. So my question to you is, which would you prefer if you had a choice? Somebody said, "Kherik Gordon, you have to pick offense or defense. Don't matter, just pick one. Which one would you prefer to pick?"
Of course, I'm gonna pick offense because I'm in offense right now.
Right. Okay.
It's just simple. If I'm being forced to pick, like my background as a player, I was always a running back. Mm-hmm. But all my awards and accolades came from defense. You know, I was an all-state linebacker. I was all county linebacker. I was all region outside linebacker. Got recruited to play running back. So, you know, so I have a good knowledge of both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So when I started coaching years ago, me being the running back, I wanted to coach the offense. But the guy I was coaching with, I got the offense, you get the defense. Okay. Yeah. So I made it my thing. I began to study defenses. I began to study packages. I began to study stunts. I began to study blitzes. Like I made it my thing.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But there was always, man, I can draw this play up right here and get this guy open when he shouldn't be open in any coverage. Yeah. You know, but I'm a defense guy. Nobody listens. Right. So this year, you know, we won a championship last year, and this year we, you know, had some guys leave the coaching staff, and the offensive coordinator was the ones that left, and that was my opportunity. Yeah. I can be the OC. It can't nobody tell me no. And so I jumped at it, right. You know, and I started drawing up my offense, and I started coming up with this and coming up with that, and you know, I when I began thinking of offensive plays, I had a certain quarterback in mind, and then they decided to leave. So I had to try to fit a round peg in a square hole, per se. And you know, it was a bit of a struggle for me for a few months, and then I just out of the blue, I got this call that, hey, I want to come back.
For y'all that don't know, he's talking about me.
What's that? Oh, I didn't know that.
He's talking about me. I went off and played some 11-man semi-pro, get some film, give myself some options. I ended up calling them back. I see that their season started a little bit later. Talked to my agent, and so I ended up calling them back. So that story was me that he's talking about. That he was drawing his offense up for, and then I decided to leave. Yeah, so whatever, man. You also are a board member of a nonprofit organization.
Yes. Athletic Scholar Brand.
Talk a little bit about that and what goes into that.
Perry Riley, he has this vision, you know, to give deserving high school kids scholarships, because not everybody's going to get the full ride. Not everybody's going to get the academic scholarship. Not everybody. So he came up with it, and like we do a lot of things. We a few years ago we did a walk from Savannah Rapid Pavilion all the way to SRP Park. Sure. Yeah. I did that before a game. So at the game I was gassed. Yeah. Like this year, 2 years in a row, we've done a 7-on-7 tournament. And you know, all the proceeds go to giving a scholarship to kids. We do homeless giveaways, to where we donate food and clothes and give it to the homeless out there, usually at Christmas time. You know, anything that, you know, when they met me, because I met him through a former player that I had. Yeah. And we just clicked, and I saw his vision, and I saw that, you know, this is the way we need to, as human beings, we need to be toward other people. We need to be more giving. Yeah. You know, I don't have it personally to give, but I do have time to give. So I will give my time to that cause to help somebody that's deserving. You know what I mean? That let him put me on the board. So now we're going to have meetings, and we're going to talk about expanding things and getting a little bit bigger, a little bit better going forward. Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap up the show on that. I appreciate you coming through and during this episode. A lot of dope information that you gave. A lot of dope insight too that need to be pushed. And it goes in hand with the premise of this show anyway. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate you coming through. This is the Detailed Athlete. I'm your host, Daniel Carr, with Kherik Gordon, and we out. Holla at you. I can't keep letting it slide.
Thought that I would change, but I'm the same guy. Blamed it on my youth, but I know I've had time. And when it comes to you and I, all that I ever did was tell lies. Am I gon' keep this up till I die? Does it add up when you do the bad stuff? Time keeps moving past us. If they gon' shoot, then I pray they end up shooting past us. Temptations that I knew to pass up, but I didn't. When I said I love you, know I really thought I meant it. Can I go to heaven? Is it time to put my bid in? I'm no longer a kid, I should probably quit the kidding and the playing. I wanna do the right thing, man, that's all I'm saying. I can't keep blaming entertainment and the money and the fame that I've been attaining as a reason for these girls that I'm entertaining. I can't keep letting it slide. Thought that I would change, but I'm the same guy. Blamed it on my youth, but I know I've had time. And when it comes to you and I, all that I ever did was tell lies. Am I gon' keep this up till I die? These are my confessions. Couldn't say it to you, so that's why I booked this session. The company I kept and I slept with kept me from being all alone with my reflection. Trust me now, I know that you a blessing. All these white lies are growing to life size. I don't wanna split, but I know it's the right time. You don't wanna look, but you know there's a bright side. If you got a feeling like mine, sing it like I can't keep letting slide. Thought that I would change, but I'm the same guy. Blamed it on my youth, but I know I've had time. And when it comes to you and I, all that I ever did was tell lies. Am I gon' keep this up till I die?